We will call to order the regular board meeting of the Board of Election Commissioners for the City of Chicago. Good morning. My name is Marisol Hernandez. I'm the chair. And with me today is Commissioner June Brown
Present.
and Commissioner William Cressy.
Also present.
Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the agenda. Any proposed changes? If not, we will proceed with the approval of certain meeting minutes. And I will take them all as a group unless there is a specific objection to one of them. It's the regular board meeting minutes of September 10th, 2024, the regular board meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2024, the special board meeting minutes of November 5th, 2024, and the canvassing board meeting minutes of November 5th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
And if I may make a point of order, Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. The motion's now been made. I want to point out that the November 5th, the two meetings from November 5th, they were recessed and reconvened at a later date. So just for the record, I want to point out that November 26th was when those meetings were actually finished, but all the minutes are together in these batches.
Thank you.
And I'd like a point of order also for the record. The minutes, in order to stay in OMA compliance, are ready for review on December 9, 23, and for January 14th, and they'll be submitted for approval at the next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
There is a second from Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next is the Executive Director's Report. Good morning, Mr. Holliday.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioner Brown, and Commissioner Cressy. I have some additional updates on repair work taking place at the warehouse at 1819 West Persian. The board's move back into the third floor is now complete. The Department of Fleet and Facility Management received the rest of its Phase 1 funding to complete the following: renovation of the two freight elevators, build out of the 5th and 6th floors, and installation of Wi-Fi equipment, final installation of new fire pumps and sprinkler systems, restoration and deep cleaning of restrooms. This work will be completed throughout 2025. The funding for Phase 2 has not yet been appropriated, but will include the build out of the exterior walls of the 5th and 6th floors. In preparation for this year's electoral board session, we are working with our contracted handwriting expert to create a new written instruction, poster, and videos to assist with staff training for petitioner signature verification. We will provide additional updates on this project in the near future. We have scheduled a walkthrough on Tuesday, February 18th with Harold Washington College for their first floor presentation room for the April 5th voter engagement forum. The walkthrough will determine the rest of our audio and visual needs for the forum. Friday is the deadline for responses to the RFP for the 2025 audit service and for the RFI for the mobile app development. We will review responses after the deadline and follow up with the commissioners with more information and recommendations. After this board meeting, I will be heading to the 2025 Conference for Partnership for Large Election Jurisdictions in San Diego until Thursday, February the 13th, to represent the board, along with Public Information Director Max Bevel, who is currently en route to the convention. Finally, board office will be closed this Wednesday, February 12th, for Lincoln's birthday, and on Monday, February 17th, for President's Day. Office closures have been posted on our website and social media. So ends my report.
Let me just ask, because I'm a little confused. You said Phase 2 is not yet appropriated. There's no appropriation? yet?
Correct. Yes.
So we have to wait for the next year's budget, the city councils, with the city council? Is that it?
Well, next year, or if they're going to release anything in the mid-year, because this is not coming out of board's budget.
Mm-hmm,
This is the budget from Fleet Facility Management.
mm-hmm.
This remodeling is being handled through their office and their budget, not ours.
So we're dependent on their budget
Correct.
to, but when you say it's not yet appropriated, that's what, I wasn't sure what you meant.
Um,
You-
I can get back. It's been asked for. They have asked for it.
We have asked for it, or who
The-
has
the
asked for it?
Department of Fleet Management.
Has asked the city for it?
Yes,
Okay,
because it's not coming from our budget because this whole remodeling project is through them, through the city,
mm-hmm,
and at no cost to the board,
yeah,
none.
okay.
And that's why it's taking so long
Mm-hmm.
to get done because they want to move us into one whole portion of 1819 instead of having us split in 1819 and 1869. So
Okay.
Now, which, go ahead, go ahead.
So when you say it's not appropriated, is it that it hasn't been appropriated to the Board of Elections, but it has been to 3FM, or
what
they haven't
2FM, that's where the appropriation is going to come to and from. I don't
But
believe,
I
all from
guess-
my understanding, it hasn't been appropriated yet. But by the time they finish phase one, the remainder of phase one, they should have the funds. And them not being appropriated will not interfere with any of our functions leading up to 2026 election. When we start,
So when is phase one supposed to be finished by?
Yeah, 'cause I thought that was finished.
well, the remainder of phase one will continue throughout this year, and we're looking through June, no later than August for it to be done. It says June, but I'm saying August. In the event things come up, we have that push there. But we will start preparing in August for the 2026 election.
So what happens if when there's no appropriation? How would it look? I mean,
Is it safe?
yeah,
It
yeah.
will be safe and it will be a workable environment because before it said they're not going to give, if they don't get the appropriation, we're going to do a walkthrough to make sure that is needed is there and done.
I have a question because I'm not sure if my notes are right. Which building was it that we did the work in initially, 1819 or 1869?
1819,
So we will be staying in total in 1819?
correct.
And so, okay, so that's where we've already started work. And you said, they say June, we don't, for
Well-
phase one, not phase two.
Yep, phase one should be completed end of June.
Also, you mentioned something about an exterior wall build-out?
Well, the exterior walls, that's the insulation and drywalling.
Oh, along the exterior walls?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was
The inside
thinking
of the
The
exterior.
inside.
we're expanding? Oh, okay,
No,
I got
no.
you now. Okay,
No, we're
very
not.
good. Thank you.
So 1819 will take care of all of our needs and we won't
Yes.
have to move. It'll be fully remodeled and
Yes.
everything. And that's the building we wanted to be in anyway.
Yes, that's where most of the operations were. And they've been trying to get those floors in 1819, my understanding from the assistant manager Derek Hurd and our site facilitator Dean Fatikas, that they've been trying to move us from that side for a while now,
From 18
from 1869,
over to 1819.
correct.
And you mentioned the freight elevators. What was the status on those again?
With the completion of phase one, that's part of the build out. The freight elevators, getting those into better working order.
Right. Because I know all over the city, elevator work has become a problem. So,
Yes.
so we'll keep our fingers crossed on,
Yes.
because that's really vital for our
Yes, it
operations.
is. And
yeah.
and seeing as though it's over 100-year-old building, And some of the parts at one point when the copper was stolen from the elevators was hard. It took a couple of months to get those parts. But eventually they got them and got them back to working.
I have a question regarding April 5th. You said there's a walkthrough on February 18th. I had asked for the plan, the budget, and the anticipated attendees' response. Do we have it? Do we have anyone respond? Do we know how many people are coming so we can plan appropriately?
Oh, so I'll get those numbers and individuals from our communication director, Max Bever. He was gathering that information. The information was going to him and he was sharing it. So when I see him this evening,
He can just
if it's
email.
all together, I can have him, we'll email it to you.
Okay, that includes the budget.
Yes,
So we do have people responding,
yes, we do.
and we know how many how many are you anticipating? What looks like success for you?
Well, we're looking for at least 150 attendees.
So that's what you're planning. Are you giving them lunch?
Yes, we'll have, a small breakfast, coffee and donuts, and then we'll have lunch as well.
Do you know who the targeted audience based on what your responses? Who's responding to you?
I will have to check with Max to see who has all responded.
Just a suggestion, I think if Max would respond once he's back, because I don't know,
Well, this was about 3 months ago, early in the year, so he may already have it. If he hasn't
yeah,
already.
if he has it, if not, he could,
Yeah, because we plan on meeting up tonight, and some things we're gonna sit down and talk about. So
Okay.
I'll mention this as well.
Maybe Outreach has it. Aren't they working with it? That's what I asked.
I can check. I know they are, but far as all the attendees, I believe Max has that right now.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll proceed now with old business, infrastructure projects and changes in election administration, electronic poll books and other voting equipment. Mr. Holliday?
Well, now all the voting equipment is being stripped and getting prepared for the next election. The carriers, they all been going through equipment taken out, retested, and maintenance done on them, and just preparing the used equipment for the next upcoming election. So all that work is in process now.
Okay. Thank you. Legislation, Mr. Lasker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did just receive yesterday the updated legislation report from Mr. Blada, which I forwarded to you all. It's lengthy. There are a lot of pending bills that, he includes things also, Open Meetings Act, FOIA, employment-related matters, but obviously a lot of bills on election stuff as well. He still is reporting that the Speaker is intending to do an omnibus bill, so we're not expecting many of these bills to actually move forward individually. Most of them, the vast majority of them, have been referred either to the Rules Committee or the Assignments Committee, which is where they usually don't come out. I could give some specifics, but I've mentioned a lot of them in the last meeting. But basically, that's where we're at, is still waiting to see what's happening with the omnibus bill. Charles and Max and I have a meeting scheduled next week with Derek to follow up and to go through this list and talk about some specifics to make sure he knows, sort of where we stand on some of the more important ones.
Just to clarify, when you say omnibus bill, would that be like an omnibus bill regarding elections and then another omnibus bill regarding FOIA? Or is this all going to be in one huge bill?
Well, the legislature has a history of doing an omnibus bill for election law, and so that's what that conversation is. They sometimes wrap a few other things into it, but usually it's just election law. With FOIA, open meetings, I haven't paid close enough attention to know if there's a separate omnibus bill for them, or do those bills just proceed on their own. I would say that with the things that are being proposed that I see in here on FOIA and Open Meetings Act, it's actually all kind of beneficial. The kind of things like a weather emergency, you can have your meeting remote on Open Meetings Act. They clarify, it talks about if you're going to attend a meeting currently under the current rules, if you're attending remotely, there has to be the physical presence here and you have to be gone for business or an emergency. They specify that like an exigent health or an exigent circumstance with a family member can qualify. So there's some helpful bills in there. I didn't see anything really alarming in those bodies.
Keep us informed as to which of those get omnibus.
Absolutely, yeah. And I also, again, I always encourage you guys to, you're free to call Mr. Blada individually and anytime you'd like. You welcome your phone calls.
Thank you.
I prefer to talk to you directly.
Well, that's
Since
fine.
you're merging it,
That's fine as well.
rather than worrying him, I just worry you.
Okay. Now we'll proceed to new business. We have a couple of items, the first of which is a professional services agreement with Maritza Buendia for Spanish language translations and community services outreach services.
Ms. Lewicki's not here, but if you would like, I'd be happy
No, that's
to
fine.
mention this. Okay, so we do have a full-time employee who heads the Spanish language translation and outreach department. But Ms. Buendia has been serving for several years now as an assistant to that on a contract basis. Her contract is expiring, and everyone down in the Community Services Division is happy with her work and her services, so they're requesting a new contract at all the same rates as previous.
Okay. Any questions? If not, is,
Well, one quick question,
Mhm.
and we've had no problems with our translation services and such on this, which is so vital.
I have not heard a single complaint from the Spanish language community about our ballot translations
Right.
or our media translations or anything.
Right. Just for the record, thank you.
is there a motion to approve a professional services agreement with Maritza Buendia for Spanish language translation and community outreach services at the rate of $50 per hour, not to exceed $100,000 over the term of this agreement, which shall commence on February 11, 2025, and shall expire at the end of February, shall expire on February 10, 2026.
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
All properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
And Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next is a professional services agreement with Jane Ignacio for graphic design for and artistic services.
So now, Mr. Bever, as you know, is not here to present today, but Ms. Ignacio has been doing graphic design work for the board for many years. This is also a minority and women-owned contract. She is, the Community Services Department is also very happy. They do the election judge handbook and so forth with her. So again, she does very good work, and she does it quickly for us. We are her top priority client. And so the request has come in officially from Mr. Bever to renew her contract.
Any questions?
And again, I'm sorry, at the same rates as the prior contract.
Are there specific projects, or is this a as-needed basis for this year? Since we don't have elections, is there some particular need?
Well, yes, so the language, the scope of services is general language for, graphic artist professional services. She does we will be starting with the handbook within this year for the March primary, but then also, Mr. Bever works with her for graphics for things like the upcoming voter forum. As we redo, our forms and publications, she'll be working on those. And if it's a slower year and we need less of her services, then she just won't bill as much.
And this goes through March 31st of 2026, so that encompasses the primary.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
all the lead up to the primary.
That's it.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve a professional services agreement with Jane Ignacio for graphic artist services at the rate of $95 per hour, not to exceed $100,000 over the term of this agreement, which shall commence on April 1st, 2025, and expire on March 31st, 2026.
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Motion passes. And last but not least, we have a proposed expenditure with CDW Government LLC for Microsoft software licenses.
So yet again, IT Manager Matt Lynn is on vacation and Assistant Manager Dwight Appa is not in today. So I can say that this is a renewal of a 3-year license agreement for Microsoft software that is expiring towards the end of this month. And so Mr. Appa came to us to request the extension. It's for a Microsoft, specifically a Microsoft Enterprise 6.6 agreement through CDWG. And Mr. Appa has told me that the pricing is in accord with the city contract pricing terms on the, so it's a discounted rate.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes. So as we have I guess we're calling it a piggyback again. So we didn't need a quote. We knew what the prices were, right?
I don't know if you knew ahead of time what the price would be.
Based on what the city is paying.
Yeah, the city's, in that contract, it mentions a percentage discount from the current market value.
And do we have a written extension? I know we can get extensions. I think I have it in my notes, and I think I reviewed it in the contract that there was a written extension. Do we have a written extension with them for this?
There are terms and conditions for it that are provided by CDW. It's not a contract that requires a signature. It's an expenditure that's, these kinds of approvals were previously just done through purchase orders, which I was unaware. So now we're bringing them in front of the board.
Right,
For
but I
approval.
thought we had to have a written extension in order to extend it. It had to be in writing. What I read, and I may be,
Are you speaking of the board's contract?
what, for us to extend with the piggyback issues.
Right, so
We had to do an extension, we would have to do it writing.
if we're going to extend that piggyback contract, this is actually sort of a separate agreement. The pricing has come in under the terms of the piggyback, but this is a licensing and software agreement. So
Which also concerns me. I had a lot of reading during the Super Bowl. Because at the other meeting, it said that this was part of a project for the purchase of computer software licensing. This was when we did the major purchases. It had started in 23, but in anticipation of everything that would happen in 2025, that all of this would be included, including the purchase of computer software licenses. So this wasn't in there?
no, because previously there was a long-term plan for an upgrade to the computer system around the office here in 2025, and we don't have an election. So there have been multiple computers purchased and monitors and new software programs that are different from not including Microsoft Office. This is just a renewal of a 3-year license agreement for ongoing continued use of the Microsoft products. So it's not a part of the expansion, the development, and so forth. All of those expenditures have already been made within fiscal year 2025, fiscal year 2024.
And so
So
that did
this
not,
is-
that wasn't, so it wasn't in full anticipation of the need for 2025, which is what my notes say.
Well, for the expansion project. This is not a part of the expansion project.
Right, but it did just say expansion. It said the outstanding purchases that we are discussing today include things like microvote, and what caught my eye was software licenses and other things that were in the IT plan by Mr. Lance.
So there were software licenses that were included that for different kinds of computer programs, some of which were new. But that, again, that was all a part of changes, modifications, enhancements for that project. Separate and distinct from that is just the ongoing licensing for Microsoft Office products.
Okay, so they're not included in the full plan?
They were not included in the plan that they were working on to purchase in fiscal year 2024, new equipment, new software, new supplies for an upgrade in 2025.
Okay, we might need to revisit that. Will we continue to, I'm not sure about this, so you correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're on a piggyback contract with the city, doesn't their contract end with their fiscal year, like September 30th? Will we still get that pricing?
I would have to refer to my notes as to when their current contract ends, but it is, my recollection is that their contract is like over a decade old. They've renewed it annually, at least annually. I think that it's been extended all the way through 2025, but again, I'd have to check my notes on it.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no other questions, is there a motion to approve a 3-year software licensing agreement with CDW Government LLC for Microsoft Enterprise 6.6 computer programs at the rate of $86,322.93 per year, with a total cost of $258,968.79 for the full term of the agreement, which shall commence on March 1st, 2025 and expire on February 28th, 2026.
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
I'll second it with the anticipation that we'll get a full plan going forward for all expenditures and programming.
And Mr. Holliday and I did discuss that with Mr. Apa. Mr. Lynn's been on vacation, but he's working.
Thank you.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda is the legal report. Mr. Lasker?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. We had an interesting decision come out of the Illinois Supreme Court recently, since our last meeting, Ontiveros versus Kokar. Ms. Brackett, I'll help you with those spellings later. 2025 IL 130316. You know that there are special statutory procedures for appealing an electoral board decision, right? Very strict rules, and it's what vests jurisdiction in the reviewing court. And if you fail to strictly comply with those rules, your judicial review of an electoral board case is dismissed. So what there has not previously been is an Illinois Supreme Court decision affirming that the same general rules of what's called special jurisdiction apply to election contests. The statutory procedure authorized by the election code to contest the results of an election. So what we have here is a case that came out of a suburb where someone did try to challenge an election. The statute in the election code says that you have to file your petition for an election contest within 30 days of proclamation of the results, and that petition must be verified by affidavit.
Verified by pardon?
Verified by affidavit. So
Thank you.
the petitioners need to swear under penalties of perjury that the contents of their petition are true and correct. And there has to be that affidavit submitted in support of the petition within that 30-day window. In the case at hand, they filed their petition, but they did not file the affidavit until after the 30-day deadline. And the circuit court said, I have no jurisdiction over your case because you didn't fulfill the statutory requirements to this jurisdiction. And the court dismissed the case because it said when you file the petition without the affidavit, it's not full and complete, doesn't qualify under the statute, so you can't add it later. The appellate court reversed, saying that because they filed the petition on time, it didn't matter that it wasn't verified on time. And the Supreme Court reversed and said, interestingly, that the Supreme Court expressly did agree with the trial court that the act of counting the ballots and proclaiming the official results is an administrative action, which means that it is within the purview of special jurisdiction. You have to follow the statute strictly. So that's the case. We now know that, we always sort of presumed this, but now the Supreme Court has affirmed for us that if someone files an election contest petition, they have to follow all those rules strictly to vest jurisdiction.
Okay.
I've been recently communicating with Jordan Andrew, who's an attorney with the Illinois State Board of Elections, along with Jim Nally, who's with the county clerk's office. She reached out to us. We've been working for a few electoral board cycles on the matters of waivers of service. We asked, and a few years ago, and the state board has agreed to collect waivers of service for electoral board objections from the candidates when they file their nomination papers, because as you know, many of their objections get transferred to our electoral board. So we are moving forward with them to make sure that all of our waiver forms are compliant with each other and can be shared between the agencies. Similarly, the County Clerks Association, according to Mr. Nally, is considering pushing legislation to do away with the old statutory service of certified mail and sheriff because it takes so long. And obviously, as we well know, many of these people do not receive their statutory service before we need to start those hearings. So that's an ongoing discussion too. As Mr. Holliday mentioned, we're working with Community Services, with the PVAL on early voting and electoral board to retain the services of a handwriting expert who not only will do our electoral board proceedings, but will create a training curriculum. We've had training curriculums in the past, but they've been internal. We want to expand that to the election judges and to the public, really, in having a video that could be available on the website so that the judges can see it at any time. But also, early voting and election judge departments here have asked for a handout that can be given during their training classes. And then we will still also, as usual, have the handwriting expert training our staff with in-person trainings here in the office.
Beautiful.
Just so you know, an update on NetWoven, I'm still attending those weekly meetings. We're still continuing. They've made a lot of headway with the functionality of the program. It's under use, but some of the things that were not working are now working, like the notifications at 90, 60, 30 days before a contract expires, things like that. One of the next projects that they'll get to when they complete the current stuff is taking our spreadsheet data of existing contracts and uploading all that into the system too. So things are moving forward there. And other than that, I'm going to be coming to you shortly with, we've been talking about outside counsel for ethics and an overhaul of the ethics policies. And then Mr. Holliday and Mr. Dean Fatikas, the facilities coordinator, are looking for early voting super site for 2026. As I think you've been told, 191 North Clark, I guess because of the Google expansion of that building, has substantially increased its rates. What they're asking would be our rates. Mr. Holliday's identified a good possibility on State Street. They just sent us a contract. I would like that to be reviewed by outside counsel that has good experience with large-scale commercial real estate use agreements.
Okay.
So those are some of the ongoing projects. That's my report.
Who's assigned to make sure that NetWoven, even if we get all the info in, it's maintained? Do we have a person that's doing that?
Yes, that will be our IT manager, Matt Lynn,
Okay.
and I will be checking in on it as well.
I would just add to that our procurement office, Amanda Robledo in the procurement office, and Kimberly Grillo Walker in finance are also very hands-on, directly working with the development and the use of the program. And that's my report.
Sounds like we've been keeping you busy.
I did forget to pass down these are the two professional service agreements for signatures.
Okay. Okay, in the meantime, I think we could proceed with the financial report. There's a balance sheet and voucher listing for the City of Chicago, 2024 appropriation number 25-08, dated February 11, 2025, in the amount of $2,239,863.30. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Is there any public comment today? It does not seem like there is
Don't
any
see any
request for public
Out there?
comment.
No.
There is no need for an executive session today, correct, Mr. Lasker? Okay, and given that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
All right, this is for you guys.